Welcome to Homeland Security. This is week 2, and we're going to get started with several little topics today that go along with the slides that were posted on Blackboard. So you're going to want to have that slide deck handy and know it and its content pretty well for the exams. And these videos are just going to highlight some of the more important points of the slides. We're not going to lecture the entire time because, well, you would turn this off. So we're just going to break it out into little bits. First thing, for those of you, some of you have not had any of our other emergency management classes before. And yes, this course is focusing on the Homeland Security side of the topic, but I want everyone to understand that Homeland Security and emergency management are intertwined very tightly here in the United States. They really do go hand in hand. Especially since 9/11 and the way the budgetary issues have worked out in the past 12 or 13 years. The two fields are pretty much the same. Now, the Homeland Security side does tend to focus more on the anti-terrorism, counterterrorism aspect of things, but we still have inside Homeland Security the core missions of emergency management, which some of you have heard before, but you're going to need to go over them in the slides again and make sure you understand. The purpose of emergency management is to save lives, prevent injury, and protect property in the case that a disaster or emergency occurs. And you're also going to want to look at the definition of emergency management from the process view. Okay, and you're going to want to know that pretty well. Also on the slides, you're going to see some statements by Secretary Chertoff, a one-time Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And the DHS mission statement is in the slides, the Department of Homeland Security's mission statement. And I'm going to look at that and kind of highlight a couple things in there. We will prevent and deter terrorist attacks. Okay, that's pretty much what DHS was created to do. And protect against and respond to threats and hazards to the nation. Many of you who have taken the Foundations course or the Planning and Policy of Emergency Management course are familiar with the concept of an all hazards approach to emergency management, where we look at all the potential threats to our population and to our nation, which includes terrorism. That is just one part of it. So even though DHS feels like it's focused entirely on the terrorist mission, they talk about all hazards in their mission statement, and that's important for us to remember. So part of your homework for this week, and all the details for this will be posted on Blackboard as well, is I want you guys to talk about what you think makes a secure homeland. We've had some governmental office focused on Homeland Security since 2002. And what does that mean to us? What do we mean by secure homeland? Is that something that's even actually possible to create? Or is it a political statement? These are the kinds of things that I want you guys exploring in your homework. And the full prompt will be on Blackboard as well. And the other thing I want you to think about in the homework is how do we measure the effectiveness of Homeland Security? We have spent billions of dollars in the past 13 years on Homeland Security, and you would get a bunch of different answers if you asked a variety of professionals how we measure the effectiveness of all that spending. So that's something we're going to explore over the next few weeks. Regarding policy and how do we measure effectiveness of policy and the funds that we're spending. But I want to get your initial impressions on the homework. So those discussion questions are in the slides, and I'm going to clarify them some in the homework. But that's kind of what I want you guys and girls thinking about. Department of Homeland Security was created in 2002 and is the largest modern reorganization of the federal government. It impacted over 25 agencies, the vast majority of which we see as DHS today existed prior to the 9/11 attacks and existed prior to the creation of this as a cabinet-level department. They were just reorganized and moved under the umbrella of DHS. It started out as the Office of Homeland Security, which was created in the White House immediately after the 9/11 attacks. But quickly became clear it needed to be a cabinet level agency. And this all comes down to policy and funding. Okay? An office in the White House, and there are several offices in the White House. You all maybe have heard of the position of drug czar, which was a big issue in the 80s and 90s. The drug czar headed the Office of Drug Policy in the White House and was ordered to basically provide national level policy regarding the war on drugs. The problem with that office, and in the Office of Homeland Security was originally created to kind of mimic that. The problem with that is there's not a lot of political clout that comes with it. And an office inside the White House doesn't have enough power or money, and those two are the same thing in Washington, to really get anything done. So President Bush and Congress decided in 2002 that this needed to be a cabinet level position which received funding directly from Congress so that it could fulfill its core missions. And what are the core missions of DHS? And these are directly from the slides. There are 5 of them that you need to know: counterterrorism, border security, preparedness, response, and recovery. And you'll see right there in that mission from DHS, that is exactly how the entire federal level emergency management mission has been rolled into DHS. Immigration and cybersecurity. Okay, so those are the 5 big missions of DHS. Border security and immigration are very similar. They're not the same thing. And we'll be discussing those in greater detail later on in the semester. Preparedness, response, and recovery, that's FEMA. All right, FEMA is now part of the Department of Homeland Security. And we'll cover it a little bit here this semester, but in more detail in some of our other emergency management classes. So DHS was created in 2002, and as part of this organization, as you can imagine in that era, everyone was focused on that first mission listed there, counterterrorism. All right, we just suffered the first major foreign terror attack on the United States on September 11th. And Congress's mandate to DHS was essentially, don't let this happen again. So that is that's what the goal was, and that's what the focus was. And really the focus stayed directly on that counterterrorism mission through 2008 or 2009, okay? But we really started to see a change in 2006. And so this is the part where I'd ask the class, what would have happened prior to 2006 to make DHS kind of reevaluate how it went about its daily operations? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, that's correct. That would be Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which was pretty much textbook failure in coordination from FEMA and DHS. And a lot of that comes from not necessarily the personal incompetence that people will assume, but from an organizational failure, because FEMA had moved from being its own independent agency to being a part of DHS in 2002. And in that move, lost a lot of its identity, a lot of its priority, and was really made, kind of second tier to this whole counterterrorism mission, because everyone was concerned about making sure that another 9/11 didn't happen. They kind of took their eye off the natural hazards ball and ignored the possibility of a major hurricane. And believe it or not, Katrina was just barely a major hurricane. Andrew was a much larger, more powerful storm, so was Camille and a variety of others throughout our history. But Katrina, through a variety of failures at the local, state, and federal level, illustrated that DHS/FEMA was not really ready or prepared anymore to deal with a natural disaster. And clearly, which of the two, natural disaster or terrorist attack, is more likely to occur in any given year? Actually, the answer is natural disaster. We have them all the time. FEMA needs to be able to do what it was able to do in the mid to late 90s. So Congress acted in 2006 and made some organizational changes. The first and foremost was that the administrator of FEMA no longer answered to the secretary of DHS in the time of a declared disaster. It went back to its older pre-9/11 model, where the administrator of FEMA basically briefed and talked to and got orders directly from the President of the United States. So we cut out that middleman, and I think we've seen some success with this. FEMA, since 2006, is a much more capable, much more responsive agency. You can look at Superstorm Sandy. Wow, did I just say that? Hurricane Sandy. Yeah, shake your head, Kyle. Look at Hurricane Sandy, which hit New York and New Jersey in 2012. and look at the response there, and it was lauded on both sides of the aisle to be pretty effective on the federal level. So, some changes have been made, and you can read about a lot of those in the slides there.